This greenhouse, now it's empty. It's usually on the winter, it's full of tomato. It's like 100 ton. And because of the war, I didn't plant new seeds.
This is Yossi Inbal. He's a farmer from southern Israel. Every year, his farm produces around 700 tons of fresh produce. But when the war began on October 7th and Hamas violently infiltrated Israel, everything fell apart.
At the beginning of the war, most of the workers just ran away. We stayed without workers, and we couldn't continue do our business, to plant the new seeds and grow new vegetables. I can't do it by myself. Pick all 5 acres of tomato. Yeah. A lot of it just go down to garbage. On October 7, we woke up of the sound of the rocket and the siren. We took the children, we just drove like crazy, far away from this area with the terrorists. And we got lucky. My wife, she was born in Kibbutz Be'eri. My wife's grandmother, she got shot, passed away 2 weeks after.
Yossi's farm and home is in Moshav Oat, just 5 miles away from the Gaza border. When the war started, his family was forced to evacuate for over half a year. But Yossi decided to come back the very next day to try and convince his farm workers to stay on the farm.
How many workers do you need to actually harvest these vegetables?
About 15.
So you're saying you need 15 workers for this greenhouse?
For this greenhouse. So
and you lost half of the workers when the war began?
Yeah, but I don't have one greenhouse. I have many.
Most of the farm workers in Israel are foreigners, and many have fled the country since the outbreak of the war, causing the agricultural sector's workforce to go down by about 40%. The labor shortage has triggered a major food crisis, and the impact has been particularly rough for farms close to the Gaza Strip, a region that's responsible for 75% of Israeli vegetable production.
How were you able to at least save some of the vegetables that you had here?
The beauty of the Israeli people, when you need them, they come to help you.
Yeah.
Many, like thousands of Israeli came from the center, from the cities to help us.
Right.
Every day, they help us, they save us.
Nobody talks a lot about the impact that the war had on the farmers. They don't have any help. I try to come here once a week to pick up any vegetables they need or any kind of help they need.
That's Stephanie. She is a volunteer for the food rescue organization Leet, which has been sending tens of thousands of volunteers to farms across the country that have been badly impacted because of the war.
I normally buy lemons in the supermarket, and I'm hearing the impact of not having enough workers to get the weeds off the trees, and therefore the lemons are smaller, and there's just not enough people to keep the farms running.
The farmer here told us that if he didn't have volunteers, he would have had to shut down.
But it's not just the farmers whose livelihoods are taking a hit. The entire country is suffering as a result.
During the first 6 months of the war, 150,000 tons of agricultural produce went to waste. That is 22% of Israel's national agricultural production. During that time, food waste cost the Israeli economy $275 million. And as a result of the shortage of fresh produce because of that hit on local farming, vegetable prices have risen by 18% and fruit prices have risen by 12%. The good news is that there is work being done to prevent this issue. Since the war started, tens of thousands of volunteers have gathered to save over 35,000 tons of fresh produce. That's worth $50 million.
We're at the Leet Warehouse. So all the produce that you see here has been picked by volunteers. It's going to be, of course, delivered to people in need. 300,000 people all over the country weekly. It's about 20% of the population in Israel suffers from some sort of food insecurity, and 20% is about 2 million people.
Leet has been feeding the needy for over a decade by collecting and redistributing food that would otherwise be thrown away by farmers or restaurants.
You see these are small avocados, and again it goes down to what the farmers can pick. If they have a grove of avocados that are ripe and ready to be picked and are the large size and the market will want them, that's what they're going to pick. And in the past, they would wait until this would grow somewhat and then pick this as well. Now, they just don't have the labor for it. They don't have the manpower because The labor will come and pick the next grove that has, again, the large avocados, and these are left behind. So that's why we're there, and we're trying to pick as much as we can. This would have been thrown away.
But there's another issue here. The fact that so much produce is left unharvested because of the war will affect Israel's long-term agricultural output. Trees that aren't properly pruned won't produce as much fruit in the next season. And this is particularly a serious issue in the north of Israel, which is constantly under rocket fire from the terror group Hezbollah out of Lebanon. Many farms there are just too dangerous to access.
Most of the food grows in the north of the country. You can't reach the grove to just pick it.
Do you have volunteers who are going to the north as well?
Absolutely. We try not to bring them to areas there's immediate shelling, but you can't know. From what I heard from farmers that we spoke to, that I've met, they're saying only about 70% will go back. Who's going to farm the land?
Leet has been doing everything it can to try and support local farmers, even providing them with financial grants to cover their losses, since many say that they feel completely abandoned by the Israeli government. But even so, the looming question is whether or not the Israeli farming industry will ever be able to go back to what it once was.
Farmers are cutting down because they're not sure if they can pick or not, because that's the most labor-intensive part of their work. So they're saying instead of growing a plot of, 100 dunams, I'll do 40 dunams. Prices are skyrocketing anyway. I'll probably make the same money. All balances at the end of the day on economics.
But luckily for Israel, economics aren't the only issue that matter to local farmers. And many, like Yossi, say they won't abandon ship, no matter what happens.
As a farmer, it's my responsibility for the country of Israel, for the people of Israel, to supply them the vegetables. They count on us, and we never give up. Although the war is still going on, it's the only country we have. We need to take care of it.